My name is Robert, but everyone calls me Bob. I'm 80 years old, and I want to tell you about something that happened 6 months ago that changed how I see everything. My best friend died. His name was Tom.
6 months ago, my best friend Tom departed from this world, and with him, a part of my soul died that can perhaps never be replaced. Our friendship spanned 57 years. That is not just a period of time, it is an entire lifetime lived together. But before I speak of that painful end, I want to take you back to the beginning of the journey where it all started. The year was 1967. The cold winds of Chicago were blowing, and I was just a 23-year-old youth who had found work in a printing shop. Tom started working there the same week. We were both new, both nervous, and looking at those heavy printing machines, it felt as if they might swallow our fingers at any moment. Those machines roared, and the small room was filled with the smell of iron and the scent of ink. Our supervisor put us on the same shift, and for 8 hours we stood side by side working, but there was a wall of silence that refused to break. Have you ever wondered what it's like to spend 8 hours with a stranger when you don't know where to start the conversation? But when the work ended, Tom brushed off his dirty shirt and asked me, "Want to go grab a beer?" I agreed, and that one beer became the first milestone of our 57-year companionship. We didn't have a grand story to be written in history books. We were just two regular guys who met at work and stood by each other through every up and down of life. We saw marriages, drank the bitter cups of divorce, celebrated the births of children, and watched those children grow up. Whatever trial life threw at us, we bore it together. In 1969, Tom got married and I was his best man. Then in 1971, when I married Carol, Tom stood by my side. Our wives, Linda and Carol, also became best friends, and thus our small world of four was built. Every Friday night we would eat together, play cards and talk for hours. Those nights were so simple, no pretension, no artifice, just two couples finding peace in each other's presence. Today, when I sit in loneliness and remember those moments, I realize how lucky we were. Lucky not because a great miracle happened in our lives, but because we found something rare in today's material world. A friendship where you don't need to prove yourself, where you are accepted exactly as you are. Tom and I spent 12 years together in that printing shop, but in 1979 the shop closed and our paths seemingly diverged. I found work elsewhere and Tom became an employee for the city. We could no longer see each other daily, but our Friday dinners and those phone calls never stopped. In 1985, when my father passed away, Tom didn't make a long speech at the funeral. He just came and stood silently next to me and placed his hand on my shoulder. Do you know that when you lose a loved one you don't need words? You just need a shoulder that says, "I am here." And Tom was always there. Then in 1992, when Tom's son got into trouble and went to jail, Tom was shattered. He kept blaming himself, but I told him the same thing he had told me years ago, that sometimes bad things happen and it's not your fault. His son changed himself over time, got married, and today has 2 lovely children. Tom was so proud of him. The real truth of friendship is that when you are young, you think friends are just those you laugh and play with, but as age sets in, you realize true friendship is being able to sit silently with someone in their difficult times. Tom and I were like brothers, actually more than brothers because we chose each other. In 2008, the biggest trauma of my life occurred when my wife Carol left me alone due to breast cancer. I was 64 and suddenly my world was desolate. My children were busy in their own lives, but Tom was there. For the first month he came to my house every day, brought food, sat with me and let me cry. He never said, "Everything will be fine," or "Be brave," because he knew that at that time, I only needed someone's presence. He let me feel everything that was buried inside me. After Carol left, I had fallen into a dark cave. I didn't want to leave the house, but Tom didn't give up. He would come again and again and say, "Come on Bob, let's go out, let's eat something." And I would go with him because I knew he wouldn't leave me alone. Then in 2013, it was Linda's turn. Tom called me at 3 in the morning. Linda had a heart attack and by the time the ambulance arrived she was gone. I immediately reached his house and found him sitting at the kitchen table, just staring into space. I sat with him and we remained silent for hours. There was nothing to say. He knew I understood his pain because I had walked through that fire myself. After Linda passed we became even closer. Twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we began having breakfast at the same old diner we had been going to for 20 years. We always sat in the same booth, gave the same old order, talked about the weather and commented on the news, but those small talks were the backbone of our lives. As we aged, we began opening the boxes of past memories. We remembered the trips we took in our youth, laughed at the mistakes we made, and mention people who are no longer in this world. Those talks weren't sad. Rather, it felt as if we were taking an account of our lives, ensuring we remembered everything correctly before our departure. But then last year Tom started forgetting things. At first they were small things, but then it became serious. He would repeat the same thing 3 times. When he was taken to the doctor, we found out he had dementia. Tom trembled with the fear of losing his identity, but I encouraged him that we would face it together. The last 6 months were very hard. Tom's condition worsened rapidly. Sometimes he would recognize me and sometimes I was a stranger to him. But I didn't leave his side. I was with him every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Whether he remembered or not, my job was to be there. Then 6 months ago he suffered a stroke. He was in the hospital for 2 days and then took his last breath. I was there, I held his hand and said, "Tom, you can go now, everything is fine." And he went. Today I am 80, I lost many people in my life. My parents, my wife, my relatives. But Tom's passing is a different kind of wound. Tom was the last person who knew what I was like in my youth. He was the last witness to my stories. With him gone, a large part of my history was erased. After his funeral, I realized that for 57 years, I took this friendship as a common thing. I thought Tom would always be there, that he would always wait for me for breakfast on Tuesday mornings, but I was wrong. Time waits for no one. In today's era, everyone is so busy, everyone is so entangled in their careers, their families, and their problems that they have forgotten to make time for friends. They think they will do this later, but that later never comes. Time runs out, people die, and one day you will find yourself in a loneliness where wealth and status will mean nothing. Tom and I spent 57 years together, and today I feel those 57 years were too few. I wish I had valued those moments more. If you have a friend who has stood by you in every condition, call them today, plan to meet them, because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. I still wake up on Tuesday and Thursday mornings and for a second, I forget that Tom is no longer here. I think about getting ready and going to the diner, and then reality grips me. My kids tell me to make new friends, to join a club, but at 80 years old, new friends aren't made. I want my same old friend who understood me without me saying anything. No one can fill the hole in my heart left by Tom. So remember my advice. Give time to your loved ones, value them before it's too late. If this story of mine has touched your heart, spread this message to others and tell me who is your best friend. Thank you for listening to an old man's story.